back from the drive this morning and had some lunch, and then I camped out and took a nap. I'm going out in the ZR1 now, the Z06. I'm sorry, the C6 ZR1 with Raz. So he's going to school me a little bit on some driving. So we'll do that. So I'm having more Corvette exposure than I've ever had in my entire life in a day and a half's time. All right. C6
ZR1.
ZR1. These aren't called Z06 ZR1, are they?
No, they're CR1s. It goes back to the C4 CR1 and the C3 CR1. So the older ones were special high performance versions. The C4 CR1 is actually the only double overhead cam Corvette. Still is.
Anything specific I should know about this as far as driving? It seems like pretty straightforward, right?
It is just a C6.
Yeah.
For better or worse, it's just a C6.
No exhaust, suspension, brakes, anything?
Brakes, carbon ceramic, standard carbon ceramic Corvette brakes. Suspension is a little bit stiffer. It's got the spec sway bars, and but still stock leaf springs.
Leaf springs?
Leaf springs.
Is that a Corvette thing?
That's a Corvette thing. No, you're not missing out. C5, C6, C7, they're all on leaf springs. Fiberglass leaf springs. Switching to coilovers is a common thing, but I wanted to see how fast I could go on just leaf springs. It's always fun to tell people that it's on leaf springs.
Leaf springs in the front too?
Yep. Transfers leaf springs front and back.
How did I not know that? And Corvettes have had that, so the C7 doesn't have that.
No, C7 has it as well. The exact same system.
Really?
Yep.
Shoot.
Even the CR1, the new CR1, the C7 CR1 has leaf springs.
Huh.
But the thing is, it kind of works, although it is.
Well, they've been refining it for 50 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I kind of feel at home sitting here in this. I'm a good old red-blooded American right here. I like to pretend like I belong in a 488 there, but
don't we all?
Yeah.
It is a gorgeous car. Now, going from leaf springs to coilovers is a common thing. A lot of people do it, but I mean, they kind of still work, and the stock shocks work with the performance traction management system as well, which we might also want to try. It just changes the throttle response slightly.
Okay.
It firms everything up.
So right now we're in regular mode?
Completely regular tour mode.
Right.
Hit it twice, and then I usually go sport.
Okay, let's do that.
That's what I've been hauling around on.
Well, we're off to a good start. I haven't installed yet, so.
They are very easy to drive. The CR1 was the first C6 with a twin disc clutch.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier than a standard C6 C06. Apart from that, this car is completely stock. Almost.
So are you doing primarily third gear around here in this sucker?
Down here third, Hellbender second, Tail of the Dragon second.
No auto rev match or anything in this?
No, I actually disabled it, but that is aftermarket. I do have an auto blip that I use on the track.
I'm going to drive it like 1/5 of what you would normally drive it, so I just want to get the feel for
That's fun.
what the experience is like.
Yeah, Corvettes are very, very accessible. They're very easy to go fast in. That's what I like about them.
Oh, Kyle thinks you're driving. He just turned around again to follow me. He's about to have a rude awakening. Yeah. Oh, Maddie here is driving like a grandpa. You know, I've gotten reasonably fast at my own car.
Yeah.
You know, but me jumping in other people's cars is not
it's different, yeah.
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 But it's been an odd, it's just like odd getting from one car to the next, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's experience, right? You get to know what you appreciate and what you don't like.
I've never done anything like this before in my life. So it's been a treat to be able to do it, you know.
Yeah.
what I'm feeling here. So I feel like, you know, this feels more Corvette-y than what I would have assumed a Corvette would feel like.
Oh, really?
Than the C7 that I drove.
Well, you do have the positive displacement supercharger out front, so you do have a lot of torque down low. You can pull out of corners very easily. It's also a little bit nose heavy, a little bit, but it is very smooth.
What's the tire size difference between this and the C7? I feel like there's less meat on this. Is there?
No, it's the same. What you're feeling is probably my sway bars.
Okay.
I run the T1 spec sway bars. Because I'm still running the stock leaf springs, for track use, the Corvettes are a little bit undersprung.
Okay.
You would like some higher spring rate, but GM has a tendency to put really stiff bars on to compensate. So this one has the T1 spec sway bars, which are probably the most aggressive GM OEM sway bars.
So you've dialed in less understeer or oversteer, I mean?
Very much less oversteer, yes.
Yeah.
Factory-wise, the Corvettes like to have a lot of oversteer with their sway bar setup, but you tend to rely too much on the nannies when you have that much oversteer.
Yeah.
So a little bit less oversteer, a little bit more understeer. I have a somewhat aggressive street track alignment, so a little bit more camber up front to prevent it from pushing over the nose. Corvettes do like to push hard over the nose. But tire size, it should be close to the same as stock. It's just 1919 instead of 1920. So a little bit more sidewall in the back, but yeah.
This seems much more like when I drove John's automatic. Obviously, I would certainly want a Corvette and a manual. The gear, it feels extremely mechanical.
Yeah, it's a TR6060 transmission, which is the same as you see in the Camaros. The newer Corvettes have the TR6070, which is a 7-speed version, but it's the same transmission you saw in Fords as well. It's a fairly standard 6-speed transmission for an American car. They're fairly reliable.
So you're able to heel toe this? Oh yeah, you'd be able to do that.
Yeah, you can do it.
Well, you can do it. Here, I'll go third. Do a little brake in a second. Nope. I can't do it.
It's easier if you go faster.
Yeah, that's what everybody says, but then you have to do it.
Well, it's easier if you can be on the brakes hard.
Yeah. This, this is your seat. Because the C7, like my head was touching the ceiling.
Yes.
You know, I'm looking like the headliner's in my way.
Yeah.
And then of course the Camaro has the windshield that's like this big.
Yeah, that's the mail slot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, the visibility is so much better in this than it is in that.
Yeah. I always thought that the C6 had a little bit more interior room than the C7.
Yeah.
The C7 has much more reinforcement going around you, so it is a little bit tighter, which is good when you get into spirited driving. It feels very snug. It feels like you're wearing the car.
Well, this seat is great.
For me, I had to get different seats because with a helmet, I was kind of rubbing the headliner.
Yep.
So I found these seats. I've been running them at the track. I love them. They're great on the road as well. So yeah.
See, this is my speed right here. I like this. Nice coasting. We're going 36 miles an hour. Maybe we'll get to do a little faster on the way back. So supercharged 7-liter V8?
No, before the ZR1 came out, the C06 was the top dog, the 7-liter, 505 horsepower, naturally aspirated motor. So people thought with the ZR1 being the new top dog, they were going to do something even crazier. Well, what they found out was they really needed the cylinder wall thickness of the 6.2, the LS3 block, so that's what they started with.
Okay.
But then they went with a forged crank, pistons, everything, and then put the TVS on top of that.
So supercharged 6.2 liter.
Yes, 638 horse. On dynos, they typically put down about 550 to the wheels.
Yeah.
Very similar to the C7 C06, just with the C7 they went for a slightly smaller blower and spun it harder. But apart from that, the two cars are very similar. I like to say that the C7 C06 feels slightly more civilized.
Yeah.
But then when you tear into it, it feels just as virile as the C6 ZR1 does.
Yeah, you can definitely. That's a good term. Like in my few minutes I've had in each car, civilized. This feels much less civilized than that, or at least measurably noticeably civilized.
Yeah.
But when did you get this car? You didn't have this last year, did you?
Well, it was a little bit of a funny story. Last year when we went to the mountains, I had a 2013 Ford 27, which is kind of like a convertible version of the CO6 with the Grand Sports.
That was a C5.
Yeah, that was a C. Well, we brought the C5, but I had the C6 427.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's convertible with the LS7 in it. But right before we came up, we did our first track event, and both the wife and I loved it, and we realized we really need cars for the track.
Like your first track event? I thought you've been at the track for years.
Well, the first one in the U.S.
Okay.
But it was the wife's first track event. So I borrowed my neighbor's F80 M3. She took her old C4 with an auto. She did have fun, but it was terrifying. I had fun, but it was terrifying. But we kind of figured that we should find something more suited. So we did the full lap. I actually bought a C5, black one, and wanted to turn that into a track car. But the more I tried, the more I realized that it didn't feel right. So eventually, after the mountain trip, a friend of mine who had bought this one new started asking me if I would be interested in buying it. And I kind of was, but I had to sell my C5 track car. I had to sell the 427. But it kind of all worked out, and then I bought this one, and my wife found the C4 ZR1. So we're the ZR1 couple when we go to the track. But yeah, there was a big difference between the 427 and then this. This feels noticeably stiffer. So it's got the magnesium chassis instead of the steel chassis. It's got a lot of carbon fiber everywhere, which is terrifying when you're on track, because if you dent something, it's a carbon fiber part. But I just thought, to heck with it. I'm gonna try and run it as hard as I can and see what it feels like.
Yeah.
Including the carbon ceramic brakes, which otherwise a lot of people say that they don't like. I kind of like them for what they are. They have great modulation. They have excellent stopping power.
What's the cost to replace these? And
last time I looked, it was about $650 for a full set of pads, and each front rotor was about $1,200.
Okay, so unlike Porsche that are $4,400 a piece.
Yeah, it's not bad, and so far I've gotten great use out of the front rotors.
Yep.
So I'm thinking I'm gonna stick another set of carbon ceramic rotors on, because they really are light.
Yep.
And they feel great. So before we go to the track, I just flush the fluid, and I put on my track wheels, and that's pretty much the only thing I do.
What tires are on this now?
Right now it's Michelin Pilot Sports, the 4S.
Yep.
For the track, it's Toyo R888R.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just prefer the Michelins for the road. They're all around the best tire, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about it at dinner or lunch, that my mentality is changing quite a bit after the whole S2000 experiment, and buying it and thinking every car I ever buy I'm going to own forever, or at least I don't have any plan. Like I don't have I'm intending to buy it for a long time, right? Own it for a long time, which of course has never happened in the history of my life.
It never works out that way.
I think my last GT3 I had the longest out of anything.
Yeah.
The blue one.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about, just buying, maybe I'll buy a car like this. Maybe buy it with the paint a little jacked up, and, and get it dialed in and drive it until I don't want to drive it anymore, and go into it knowing that I might have it for 3 months or 9 months or a year, and really get to experience some more cars. I think I might do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure convince Michelle, I need to buy another car,
I don't think that would be that hard. I think it's a good idea. Up until we bought the ZR1s, we believed that every single car we bought we were going to keep forever.
Yep.
So that's how we started working on them. That's how we started building them. But then we realized after a while that there are other cars out there, and you might as well go and have fun with them, right?
Yeah, because then I get all disappointed when it doesn't, doesn't work out like I thought. And you know, in the S2000 experiment, and that now the life lesson, the learning that I don't want all the old cars that I had before. Maybe it's just go buy a bunch of random crap, then keep it for a little while, and not buy them. The problem is for me is I like to buy them new, and it doesn't work if you buy them new. You know, you get destroyed.
Well, I was thinking about getting, when we're looking at something for the street and the track, I was thinking, well, now I want an E46.
Yeah.
My first car was an E46, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. Then I got in one, and I drove it, and I still liked it.
Yeah,
but it was not the same as back then.
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, that's the tricky part, you know.
Yeah.
It'll let you down for sure.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you need to let yesterday's heroes be heroes.
Yeah, that's the lesson.
Yeah. And you don't want to get stuck maintaining 5 cars. Trust me.
Yes. So I think I'll always have, you know, God willing, I'll always have a GT3. You know, just always. Yeah. And hopefully a newer version of a GT3 all the time. Now that may change with the advent of no more NA. You know, who knows what happens with GT cars, but you know, I think having a third, I don't really give a crap car to drive and test and play with could be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I found out after modifying quite a few cars that I like modifying my cars, but only up to the point where there's still a chance to sell the car without losing too much money on it. So that's what I'm trying to do with this car. Not too much, not too little, just still a little bit.
Drive it, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Send it back.
Yeah.
Send it on to the next home.
I do think this one might stick around for a little bit because technically this car was also the reason why the wife and I started talking and eventually getting engaged and getting married. I had just taken some pictures of it for a friend. Actually, my friend who bought it. It was his car, and I realized that I should post some of those pictures up at work because we have a Corvette group. And so she replied to it. We started talking. A year later, started talking a little bit more. A year after that, we started dating.
Because she's Queen Corvette, right?
She loves Corvettes.
Yeah.
She loves all cars, but Corvettes, it's a special thing.
Now she doesn't drive a lot when she's here, does she? Does she not want to?
No, she doesn't want to drive this car because it's not hers.
Yeah.
And she would be afraid of what would happen to it if something were to happen.
Yeah.
But no, she goes to the track just as often as I do. She's very careful, but no, she still enjoys driving the cars. I think maybe next year
she'll bring hers or bring something.
Yeah. Well, next year hopefully we'll have a trailer, or maybe we'll just trailer it up here.
Because her car is track only, right?
Yeah, her car being a C4, you have much less space because the transmission sits up front. So if you ever get a chance, look at the floor mats on the C4. They're about this wide. But no, hers has a half cage in it. It's got big brakes, suspension, and everything. But yeah, I would like her to drive one up here, but I think she feels safer on track than she does here.
Yeah.
With everybody else around and oncoming traffic.
Yeah. And now you can hear you don't hear the supercharger whine down low, and now you start to hear it.
Yeah.
I feel good about this because no matter how I drive this, I'm not even going to come in close to the amount of beating that you put on this thing.
I like to think I drive it fast, not really beat on it.
That's a good way.
I know what you're saying.
That's a good way to put it. It's what it's made for.
Yeah.
There's certainly a smoothness that you develop out here in the mountains after a few days.
Yeah.
That I'm not getting because I'm driving 15 different cars.
You know, I was driving the CL1 last night. Scott let me drive it.
Yep.
That thing is phenomenal. It's incredible. It's like a 2,800 pound car caught in a 3,800 pound body.
I did like that.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it a lot. I think his 1LE will be faster than this on track, but it'll take a very good driver to get the last little bit out of it because it's an amazing car. See, I love this part of the Dun Mountains.
little hellbender area is awesome.
I prefer this over the Dragon, honestly.
Yeah. So much going on in the Dragon. I know I'm driving like a sissy, but this is good enough for me. This is good enough for me.
Yeah. As long as you're having fun, go as fast or as slow as you like.
Yeah. I don't need to hear any squealing to have fun.
No. I try not to squeal. Squealing and sliding is slow.
Yep. I'm so seeing like Ian and like the Boss 302, you know, riding in that.
Yeah.
Or like the GT that was behind you. Now he did get a little loose there, I think, but
yeah, he did.
but seeing like all of these different cars, seeing how capable they are. Like you would have never 20 years ago, you never assume a Mustang would be out here.
No.
Keeping up with
No. Mustangs would not be able to keep up, and Camaros wouldn't be able to go that fast.
Right.
It's just so many things have happened over the last couple of years that it's just kind of amazing. As we were going out on Cherahalla Skyway and looking in the rearview mirror, and you're seeing the Boss 302, you're seeing the 488.
Right.
You're seeing that awesomely huge wing on the 1LE. It's just kind of crazy.
It's weird, man.
It feels like a good time to be alive and be a car guy.
Yeah.
It is nice when you get in the zone and you start carving the corners instead of being afraid of what's coming next.
Yeah.
You get into the rhythm and you just flow with the car.
I'm also much better following than I am, you know, like out here by myself.
Yeah.
But again, cruising, that's what's so great about the mountains, you know, 60, 70 miles an hour tops, you know, is all I need.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like an insane amount of power that you can't handle.
No, and that's another reason why I haven't really built it yet. You don't really need that much more. It's got plenty of power to get out of corners, and you got plenty of power to get in trouble. With 550, I kind of like that area of power.
Yeah.
It seems like a good compromise to where you don't spin all the time, and you know it's not going to overpower the car or your driving skills.
So what's the key to like let's say, you know, I'm coming up to, you know, how do I get smoother out here? Is it braking?
I would say seat time, and also becoming aware of how you do your inputs. The faster you go, the less steering you should do. You need to manage basically the weight transfer throughout the car. When you go into a turn, you want a little bit of weight on the front to assist in the steering. As you're coming around the turn, you can transfer more to the back. You really want to have a nice and steady weight transfer. If you can manage the weight without
like I'm coming up here, I should be braking hard, right?
Well, brake hard and then let off smoothly.
Okay.
You can carry the brakes into the corner a little bit. That's called trail braking, and that'll help get the rear end around. You're not always just steering with the wheel. If you can trail brake a little bit, you're actually going to feel the whole car rotate around its axis. I love doing that. That's one of my favorite things.
Is that at the point of ABS engagement, or
no?
Way before that?
No, it's pretty far from it.
Okay.
Of course, if you stomp the brakes hard, the ABS is going to engage. But I mean, you can feel it when you hit the brakes and it gets on the nose. You kind of feel that it wants to steer a little bit quicker. It wants to come around on you a little bit too. So you can work on that and just get the car to swing around with you. Of course, if you go too far, you're going to have the rear end coming out on you, which is when your car turns into a Porsche Cayenne driven by Kyle. But no, to be smooth, you just have to be very mindful of smooth inputs. And then also get a feel for what the car likes. You can't drive, and I'm sure you found this out, but you can't drive all the cars the same way.
Yeah.
Some cars need to be driven differently. And for me, that was an eye-opener with the 1LE. It was just, you need to really kind of like grip it and then drive it.
There it is.
There it is.
Speaking of the devil.
Yeah.
I could see myself, I could be driving this a lot faster, pretty easily.
Yeah.
You know?
Corvettes are very accessible. Very accessible.
See, I can't, I don't know, I just can't commit to actually, you know, going through a corner like you should.
Try to keep your eyes up further out. You think. A lot of people make the mistake of staring right there at the corner.
Yep.
And then you kind of miss what's coming further ahead. If you can anticipate what's coming, it becomes more smooth.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself to do that, especially when you're following someone.
Yeah. You can, if you...
Eyes up, you look where you want to go, right?
Yeah.
Do you walk the wheel, or do you...
No, I'm right
9 and 3?
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me do another crappy review on a car, and I don't know what to say. It's like,
hey,
I'm so engaged, and all right, let me just keep this thing between the yellow and the white.
Well, it's difficult to figure out what you think about the car on just a short ride.
That's why what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do well by, at the end, I'm going to watch back the video while I'm editing it, and then I'm going to go and sit in the garage and just kind of give my thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's always amazing too. You bog it, but there's so much torque that it doesn't even matter.
And first gear goes to almost 60.
Yeah, I almost find myself wanting first gear in a few of those. Yeah, it's also it feels a lot different doing a a lower revving, bigger displacement motor. I'm so used to baby motors, high revving.
Yeah, this one doesn't rev that high, but you do get the torque down low, so you tend to stay down low. And it crackles and pops. Hopefully in a good way.
So that's the ZR1. I guess we shouldn't do that, should we? We should do this.
You didn't break that hard.
Come on, man. How do I turn this thing off?
Oh, right there.
Yeah, good point. I don't think I broke it. I didn't think I was braking at all. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.